why you'll never feel beautiful enough and why that's okay. Alright, buckle up. The video's titled Why You'll Never Feel Beautiful Enough and Why That's Okay. This is going to be a deep dive into why so many of us, despite everything we do, never quite feel satisfied with how we look or who we are. And trust me, it's not just about beauty, it's about something much, much deeper. Let's break it down. We live in a world obsessed with beauty. Everywhere you turn, you're bombarded with images of perfection, perfect bodies, perfect faces, perfect lives. Social media, advertising, movies, TV, they all sell us this idea that if we could just be a little more beautiful, a little more perfect, then somehow we'd finally feel good enough. But here's the catch, no one ever feels beautiful enough. Not really. Not even the people who seem to have it all. And the reason for that, it's because beauty, as we've come to understand it, isn't real. It's an illusion. Now, before you think I'm going off the deep end, let me explain. Beauty, as society defines it, is a moving target. It's always shifting, changing with the trends, influenced by culture, time, and place. What's considered beautiful today might not be considered beautiful tomorrow. And this is where the problem lies. We're chasing something that's constantly slipping out of reach. It's like trying to catch smoke with your hands. No matter how hard you try, you can never quite hold on to it. Here's a question for you. How much of your life have you spent chasing an ideal of beauty that isn't even real? Think about it. We spend so much time, energy, and money trying to mold ourselves into something that society says is beautiful. But the truth is, even if you reach that ideal, it won't be enough. Why? Because beauty, as we've been taught to understand it, is external. It's skin deep. And no matter how perfect you might look on the outside, it will never fill the void you feel on the inside. Let's get philosophical for a moment. Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, believed that true beauty wasn't something you could see or touch. It wasn't about appearances. True beauty, according to Plato, was about essence. It was about the goodness within, the soul's alignment with truth and virtue. What if the reason you'll never feel beautiful enough is because you're looking for beauty in the wrong place? What if real beauty isn't about how you look, but about who you are?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The problem is, we've been conditioned to think that our worth is tied to our appearance. From a young age, we're told implicitly or explicitly that beauty equals value. The more beautiful you are, the more attention, love, and success you'll get. But here's the thing, it's a trap. It's a never-ending race that you can't win, because there will always be someone more beautiful, someone who fits society's ideal better than you do. And even if you do fit that ideal for a moment, time will eventually take it away. We age, we change. That's life. So the question becomes, why are we chasing something so fleeting, so impermanent, when real beauty, the kind that lasts, comes from within? But let's get practical. I know it's easy to say beauty comes from within, but in a world that constantly reinforces the opposite message, how do we actually believe that? How do we shift our focus from external beauty to internal beauty? It starts with recognizing that you've been sold a lie. The beauty industry, social media, Hollywood, they all profit off your insecurity. They want you to feel like you're not enough, because if you did feel like you were enough, you wouldn't buy the products, follow the influencers, or chase after the trends that keep them in business. Here's another deep question. What would your life look like if you stopped chasing external beauty? If you woke up tomorrow and decided that you were enough, just as you are, how would that change the way you move through the world? What would you do differently? Who would you become if you weren't constantly trying to fix yourself? It's important to realize that the pursuit of beauty, as society defines it, is a distraction. It's a way to keep you focused on the surface, rather than digging deeper into who you really are. And the more time you spend chasing beauty, the less time you have to cultivate the things that truly matter: your character, your kindness, your intellect, your creativity. So why is it okay that you'll never feel beautiful enough? Because real beauty isn't something you need to chase. It's something you already have. It's in the way you treat others, the way you express yourself, the things that light up your soul. It's in your flaws, your imperfections, the things that make you different. The truth is, the standards of beauty we're trying so hard to live up to are narrow and limiting. They don't capture the full spectrum of what makes someone truly beautiful. And here's where it gets profound. What if the very things you dislike about yourself, the things you think make you ugly, are actually the things that make you beautiful? What if the parts of you that don't fit into society's mold are the parts that give you depth, character, and uniqueness? In a world obsessed with perfection, maybe the most beautiful thing you can be is imperfect. The mirror is not the truth. How society warps our perception of beauty. Let's get into something deep. The mirror. We all look into one every day. And what do we see? We think we see ourselves, right? But what's really happening when you look into that mirror? You're not just seeing your reflection, you're seeing a reflection filtered through years of social conditioning, cultural standards, and personal insecurities. The mirror, in this sense, is not a neutral object. It's a lens that reflects back, not just your face, but the world's expectations of what beauty is supposed to look like. Here's the thing: when you look into that mirror, you're not just seeing you. You're seeing all the advertisements you've ever been exposed to, all the magazines, the Instagram filters, the movie stars. The image you have of yourself is shaped by external forces, and those forces are powerful. They tell you what's beautiful and what's not. They train you, over time, to see flaws where none exist. And because we live in a world where beauty is often equated with worth, those so-called flaws start to feel like they're not just on your face, but deep inside you. Here's a question to sit with when you look in the mirror. Are you really seeing yourself? Or are you seeing a version of yourself that's been constructed by societal standards? Think about it. How much of what you dislike about yourself is really yours to dislike? And how much of it has been handed to you by a culture that profits off your insecurity? Let's go even deeper. This obsession with how we look, how beautiful we are or aren't, gets in the way of something much more important: how we feel. We've been conditioned to believe that if we look beautiful, we'll feel beautiful. But anyone who has ever chased that idea knows it's not true. You can hit the gym, get the perfect haircut, wear the trendiest clothes, and still feel like something's missing when you look in the mirror. Why is that? Because beauty, as society defines it, is external. It's surface level. It doesn't address the deeper needs we have as human beings for connection, love, and self-acceptance. You could look like a supermodel and still feel deeply insecure if your sense of worth is tied solely to your appearance. That's because true beauty, the kind that actually makes you feel whole, comes from within. It's about how you carry yourself, how you treat others, and how aligned you are with your own values and purpose. But society doesn't teach us that. It teaches us that beauty is something we need to earn, something we need to achieve. It's a goalpost that keeps moving. One day you might get close to reaching it, but the next day the standards change. And so you're stuck, always chasing, never arriving. It's like running a race with no finish line. No wonder we feel exhausted and inadequate. Here's another question: what would happen if you stopped chasing society's version of beauty? What if you decided that the mirror doesn't get to tell you how beautiful you are? What if you took back the power to define beauty on your own terms? This is where things get interesting. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre once said, "Hell is other people," and while that might sound a little dramatic, there's some truth to it when it comes to beauty. So much of our suffering around appearance comes from comparison. We look at others and think, they're more beautiful than I am, or they're closer to society's ideal than I'll ever be. But here's the problem: comparison is a trap. It's a game you can't win, because there will always be someone more beautiful, more fit, more stylish, at least according to society's ever-changing standards. But what if you stopped comparing? What if you realized that beauty isn't a competition, that it's not something you have to measure yourself against? What if you understood that beauty, real beauty, isn't about being better than the person next to you, it's about being fully yourself? What if the most beautiful thing you could do is embrace the parts of yourself that don't fit into the mold? And let's not forget, beauty, as society has defined it, is incredibly narrow. It's based on a limited set of characteristics: youth, symmetry, thinness, certain skin tones, certain features. But human beings are diverse. We come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And that diversity, that's what makes us beautiful. The fact that we don't all look the same is what makes life interesting. Yet, we've been trained to see that diversity as something to fix, something to change, rather than something to celebrate. So, here's the real takeaway: the mirror is not the truth. It only shows you the surface, and even that image is distorted by the weight of societal expectations. The real truth of your beauty lies much deeper. It's in your character, your actions, your relationships, and your ability to live authentically. It's in the way you make others feel, the way you express yourself, the way you contribute to the world. Those are the things that make you truly beautiful. The freedom of letting go, why releasing society's standards is the key to self-acceptance. All right, let's get real for a moment. We've talked about how society warps our perception of beauty, how the mirror doesn't reflect the truth, and how comparison is a game you can never win. But now, let's talk about something powerful: letting go. You see, the real freedom comes when you decide to let go of society's narrow, ever-shifting standards of beauty. The moment you stop chasing that impossible ideal, you free yourself from a lifetime of anxiety and self-doubt. It's like releasing a heavy weight you've been carrying around for years. But here's the thing: it's not easy. We've been conditioned for so long to believe that our worth is tied to how we look that letting go feels risky, even terrifying. So, how do we do it? How do we free ourselves from the tyranny of external validation and begin to cultivate self-acceptance? It starts with the simple but profound realization: you are not broken. You don't need to be fixed, improved, or molded to fit someone else's idea of what's beautiful. You are already enough, just as you are. But the challenge is believing that. Here's a deep question for you: what would your life look like if you truly believed you were enough? If you woke up tomorrow and didn't feel the need to change a single thing about your appearance, how much mental and emotional energy would you free up? What could you accomplish if you weren't constantly distracted by the pursuit of some unattainable ideal? Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring about yourself. It doesn't mean you stop grooming, exercising, or taking care of your body. It means you stop doing those things to meet some external standard and start doing them because they make you feel good. You shift from trying to be beautiful in someone else's eyes to feeling beautiful in your own skin. It's a subtle but profound difference. When you let go of society's standards, you also let go of the need for external validation. You stop seeking approval from others based on how you look and start building a sense of self-worth that's rooted in who you are, not how you appear. And that's where real self-acceptance begins. It's about embracing the full spectrum of who you are, your flaws, your quirks, your uniqueness, and realizing that these are the things that make you beautiful. Here's another thought. What if the very act of letting go is what makes you most attractive? Think about it. People who are truly comfortable in their own skin radiate a kind of confidence and ease that no amount of makeup or designer clothes can replicate. There's something magnetic about someone who has embraced who they are, imperfections and all. So, here's the takeaway: letting go is freedom. Freedom from the endless pursuit of perfection, freedom from the need for validation, freedom from the comparison trap. And in that freedom, you'll find something far more valuable than beauty. You'll find self-acceptance. Redefining beauty, how to cultivate inner beauty in a world obsessed with appearances. So, we've talked about letting go of society's standards, freeing ourselves from the need for external validation, and embracing self-acceptance. But now, let's take it a step further. Let's talk about redefining beauty altogether. If the beauty that society sells us is shallow, fleeting, and unattainable, then what does real beauty look like? How do we cultivate it from within? Here's the thing: true beauty has very little to do with how you look and everything to do with how you live. It's about the energy you bring into a room, the way you make people feel, the kindness you show, and the authenticity you embody. Inner beauty is not something that fades with time. In fact, it deepens. It's the kind of beauty that stays with you long after the physical fades, long after trends and social standards have shifted. But let's be honest, living in a world obsessed with appearances makes it hard to focus on cultivating that inner beauty. Everywhere we look, we're told that the external is what matters most. So how do we shift our attention inward when everything around us is pulling us outward? It starts with self-awareness. You have to be conscious of when you're getting sucked back into the trap of external validation. Every time you find yourself comparing your appearance to someone else's, ask yourself, am I placing my worth in something temporary? If the answer is yes, it's a sign that you need to refocus on what really matters: your character, your actions, your relationships, and your impact on others. Here's a powerful question. What if you spent as much time cultivating your inner beauty as you do worrying about your outer appearance? Imagine what that would look like. Instead of stressing over every wrinkle, pimple, or strand of gray hair, you'd invest in becoming more compassionate, more present, more grateful. You'd work on becoming the kind of person who lifts others up, who brings light into every room they enter. And that kind of beauty, it's unforgettable. Let's get practical. How do you actually cultivate inner beauty? Start by practicing gratitude, not just for the things you have, but for who you are. Reflect on your strengths, your unique qualities, and the positive impact you've had on others. Next, focus on kindness. Acts of kindness, no matter how small, not only make others feel good, they also make you feel more beautiful from the inside out. And finally, practice authenticity. Stop trying to be someone you're not. The more you embrace who you truly are, the more radiant you become. Here's the truth: outer beauty is temporary, but inner beauty is timeless. The more you cultivate it, the more resilient you become to the shifting standards of the world around you. And here's the kicker: when you focus on inner beauty, you start to see yourself differently. You realize that the external things society told you to prioritize are insignificant compared to the depth, warmth, and love you carry within. So, here's the final takeaway: redefine beauty on your own terms. Let it be about who you are, not how you look. Let it be about the way you move through the world, the relationships you nurture, and the love you give. Because in a world obsessed with appearances, true beauty, the kind that comes from within, is revolutionary. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of beauty we should all be striving for.